Hello everybody, this is Jason Thornton with Partners Life, and today we're bringing to you some information on phone scripts and the basics behind how phone scripts work. And I just want to give you a little bit of information before we jump into the presentation here. And the phone script is where everything starts as far as booking your appointments. So I want to give you some information on mindset before we even jump into this. When you're spending your time on a daily basis learning about how to be successful in our industry, my recommendation to you would be spend 80% of your time mastering the phone script, 15% of your time mastering the in-home presentation, and 5% of your time focusing on product selection. And the reason why that is because you could be an absolute master of product selection, know everything there is to know about every single product that we sell, but if you don't sit down in front of clients, you're not going to be able to make any sales. In fact, just as I was starting this call, I had a phone call from an agent who's absolutely brand new. He jumped on the phone on the exact same lead type that we're getting ready to show you here on this phone script, booked an appointment, didn't know anything about anything, and 5 minutes ago I was talking to him about how to write an application, and I actually basically just closed the sale over the phone for him. So those are the types of things that we're going to be able to do to help you, but the one thing that you have to do in order to sell life insurance is you have to get in front of people. This business is nothing more than a numbers game, and the more people you sit down with, the more life insurance that you're going to sell. The other thing is phone script, telephone, making dials is the #1 way that you're going to book appointments if you're working mortgage protection leads. But there are some other options when you're working final expense leads. Some of our agents don't do telephone dials when it comes to final expense leads. They just go out and they put their leads into a route planner and they go out and just door knock those leads. And a lot of our agents do very, very well doing it that way. I prefer to make phone calls, and the reason why is because I can talk to 20 people in the same amount of time that it would take an agent doing a route planning drive. That they could meet with 7 or 8 or maybe 10 people. And so since I'm going to talk to twice as many people because of how quickly I can move from one call to the next, I'm getting in front of more agents, and I just find that it's more profitable for me. But you have multiple different options, but the phone script is the option that I choose to go with. So let's take a look at the next slide here. The purpose of this training is to give you the basic information you'll need to set an appointment. Remember that all good things happen in the home, and clients that are 50 years plus old, and they still need life insurance, there's a reason why. It's because they're very good at procrastination. So your ability to succeed will be tied to your ability to help them make a decision instead of procrastinating until another day. Buying life insurance is an emotional decision, and emotions surface when people have a candid conversation with an agent, which typically will not happen over the phone. Remember, you are not selling life insurance when you call them. You are selling the appointment, nothing more, nothing less. When I was a brand new agent, I didn't know how to overcome the objection when people just asked me, can you give me a quote over the phone? And I remember that I would write information down, give them a quote, and then the leads that I was quoting, I would put that in a 3-ring binder. And when I accumulated 17 of those leads that I had quoted over the phone, I realized I hadn't made a single sale from that. And at that point, I realized how important it was to overcome the objection and to get into the door and get the appointment. So just remember, you're not selling life insurance. You're selling the appointment when you're making your dials. Now here's the thing. There is no perfect script. There are many scripts that all work well, but there's no silver bullet phone script. It is important that you're comfortable with the script that you are using and that you practice, practice, practice. It takes thousands of repetitions to be good at anything. This is no different. At first, you'll sound scripted when you talk to your clients, and as you practice, you'll become more conversational. The more conversational you become, the better your results will be. And so when you start sounding to your clients the way that their friends and family sound to them when their friends and family call them, the more likely you're going to book an appointment. Now, scripted agents can expect to set 2 to 3 appointments on a fresh batch of leads for every 10 people they talk to, whereas conversational agents can expect to set 5 to 7 appointments off the exact same leads for every 10 people they talk to. So talk to your clients the way you would talk to your friends. And as a new agent, you should talk to your coach after you get 3 people to tell you no, or 3 no's. And that way you can get some coaching and get some course correction. Don't procrastinate. Schedule your dial time and stick to it. The hardest dial is the first dial, and once you break the ice, you'll get into a rhythm. Don't let anyone interrupt your dial time, not even you. Do all your prep work, such as printing your leads, printing your script, practicing long before it's time to dial. Learn what motivates you to stick to your dialing schedule. Some people like to read motivational books an hour before they dial. Some people listen to motivational audios. Some people do jumping jacks to get their blood pumping. Some do positive self-talk. Find what works for you. Sticking to your schedule will build your self-image and will make it easier the next time. So if you say, hey, I'm going to dial at 9 o'clock on Saturday mornings, it doesn't matter what comes up. Dial at 9 o'clock on Saturday mornings. Smile and tone of voice, so important. People like talking to people they like. So become someone your clients want to be on the phone with. It might sound crazy, but your clients can hear when you are nervous and when you are not. The best way I find to overcome my jitters is to smile. So I practice smiling in the last few minutes before my scheduled dial time. And I find that just the act of smiling makes me feel happier and more prepared to make my dials. Keep your tone level. Do not allow your tone to raise up at the end of a sentence. You will sound like a telemarketer asking a question. So as an example, if I'm talking to a client and his name's John, I might say, hi, John. I'm not going to say, hi, John. By raising the tone of my voice, it sounds like I'm asking a question. Talk to your clients the same way you would talk to your friends and family. Assume that the person you are talking to is the person on the lead. Do not ask a question their family would not ask them, such as, is this John? This is a surefire way to get hung up on. Okay? Setting your appointment schedule. You are a busy professional. Act like it. In fact, agents that are really seasoned in this business will make anywhere from $500 to $1,000 an hour when they're meeting with their clients, which is more than most doctors and lawyers do. And think about it. If you call a doctor's office and you say, hey, I want to see you at 10 o'clock on Monday, and they say, well, my schedule is full, the schedule's full. You might not get in until 3 o'clock in the afternoon. That's the same thing with us. You are a professional. Act like it. Set a schedule prior to making your first dials. Some new agents like to set 2 hours between their appointments, where more seasoned veterans might set an appointment every 90 minutes. This gives you 30 minutes of drive time and between 1 and 1.5 hours to conduct the appointment and write the application. On this slide, you can see a sample application or sample schedule. And I just put a few different appointments on the schedule. My typical schedule starts at 8 o'clock in the morning and ends probably around 9 or 10 o'clock at night. And I've got appointments on a schedule that are every 90 minutes between. But I draw this out on a blank piece of paper before I pick up the phone and start my dials. That way, when I'm done booking an appointment, I can just put a big X through that spot and I know where the openings are in my schedule. Set the times and dates that work for you. Fill in the blanks and don't quit until it's full. So if you have set your goal for your appointment count and give them 2 options. So on this particular option, it shows that I have appointments for Thursday and Friday in the morning and early afternoon. And if they tell me they want to meet in the morning, I'm going to say what works best for you, Thursday 11:30 or Friday at 10:15. And I'm going to give them those 2 options. Now, typically, I've also got afternoon and evening appointments on my schedule as well. I just put a small piece of that window right here on this page. But make sure that you've got that schedule handwritten with specific time slots that you're just filling in the blanks. Prime time for dialing. Although there is a prime time to dial, any time is a good time to dial. If all you're doing is sitting around waiting for prime time to dial, pick up the phone and dial right now. Typically, the best time to dial is when people are going to be home. I tend to get the best pickup ratios from 5 to 9 p.m. every single day except Saturday, and from 8 a.m. to 1 p.m. on Saturdays. But with final expense leads, your clients are typically over the age of 50, and many of them are retired, so they could be home all day long. And if your clients are under 65, these times are more important because the prime times are more important because they're most likely still working, and most people work during the day. So take a look at your leads, and if you're noticing that you've got a 55-year-old who's not picking up in the morning or the afternoon, make sure that you have primetime dials set up. Now, here's what I find. If you make your dials in the morning, you're going to get morning appointments. If you make dials in the afternoon, you're going to get afternoon appointments. And if you make your dials in the evening, you're going to end up with evening appointments because the people are saying hello at a time when they're available. So if you want to have a full schedule, you need to dial multiple times on whatever day you have set aside for your dialing. I recommend doing a morning session, an afternoon session, and an evening session so that your day can be as full as possible. Mix it up. That's what I was just talking about. Do dial sessions during the morning, afternoon, and evening to increase the number of people you talk to. And if you're dialing on final expense teleleads, many of these clients have identified the best time to call them back. But do not limit yourself to these callback times. It is just a guide to reaching them. The cool thing about the teleleads, too, is right on the lead, it'll tell you exactly when they answered the original call that created the lead. That's a hint, too. That could be a good time to give them a call because they've already picked up the phone at that particular time of day. Step 6, work. When it's time to work, just work. Dial every phone number 3 times, back to back to back. About 70% of the people you talk to will be picking up on the second or the third dial. If you do not talk to anyone after 3 dials, go to the next lead. After you dial completely through the stack of leads, turn it over and start again. Keep track of your numbers, your dials, how many people you talk to, or we're going to call that talks, and your appointments set. You should be able to do 35 plus dials every single hour. And on average, for every 10 dials, you should end up with 1 person you talk to. So you should be talking to 3 to 4 people per hour. So if you make 10 dials, you're going to talk to 1 person. And you make 40 dials, you're going to talk to 4 people. If you talk to 4 people in an hour, you're going to have 4 times as many appointments as an agent who only talks to 1 person per hour. So it's just how fast can you dial the numbers. Do not analyze your leads or worry about what type of policy you will be selling. There will be plenty of time for product placement after your dials are complete. Just dial. I got a story that I want to share with you. This happened to me about 3 years ago. I got a lead, and on the lead it said that the client was 91 years old and she had Alzheimer's disease. And for those of you who've been around a while, you probably recognize that there's no product that I can sell that particular client. But what I didn't do is analyze the lead and say, well, I guess this one's just a waste and throw the lead in the trash. What I did instead is I booked an appointment, and I went to that home to let them know in person, hey, 91 and Alzheimer's, there's nothing really much I can do there. But when I sat down with the lady's daughter-in-law, what she told me was that her brother had just had a kidney transplant about 2 years ago and didn't have any life insurance. And we have products that can help people like that, such as our product with Gerber. And I ended up writing a guaranteed issue product very similar to the Gerber product in that home on that appointment, even though I had booked an appointment to see a 91-year-old lady with Alzheimer's. So don't prejudge the lead. You'll be surprised at what can happen. Next one here, script. This is an example of a script that I use for the telemarketing final expense leads. And I'm not going to go through the script start to finish right now. For those of you who want to get a copy of the script, it's the PowerPoint presentation. You can download that along with this training. But just keep in mind that every single script has got 5 specific areas or 5 different sections of the script, and those are highlighted here. There's the introduction. Then there's the verification, where you're verifying the information on the script. Then there's the scheduling. The next one is the tie downs. And then the last one is the confirmation. Now, it doesn't matter what type of lead you're working with. The verifications, the scheduling, the tie downs, and the confirmation are all the same. The only thing that changes is the introduction. So on this particular script, being a telemarketing final expense script, the introduction says, "Hi, John, this is Jason Thornton with Senior Benefits getting back to you about the phone call you had with an agent in my office requesting information about our program designed to cover 100% of your final expenses. I'm the local person they assigned this to. Do you remember the conversation?" Now, normally I don't like to ask questions on my other lead types where the answer could be no, but in this particular case I find that I need to overcome this objection early, so I entice the client to tell me no. And at the end I say, that's okay, I don't remember what I had for breakfast last week, and I move on into the verifications like it's no big deal. Now, the introduction might be different on a mortgage protection lead. On a mortgage protection lead, I might say, hi, John, this is Jason Thornton. I'm calling you about the form you filled out regarding mortgage protection, and you sent it back into our office. This is the program that will pay off your home if you pass away, or cover your medical, or cover your mortgage payment if you can't work due to an illness or injury. That's my introduction for that particular lead type. But the verification, scheduling, tie downs, and confirmation, and the overcoming objections is the same no matter what lead type you're working with. So this particular script, I recommend that you print it out, stick it in front of you, and read the script as you're learning it. But practice, practice, practice. I cannot emphasize that enough. Objection handling. Don't worry, objections are normal. And the best approach to overcoming objections is what I call ARM, or it's AIM. That's a typo there. AIM, acknowledge, ignore, and move on. Again, there is no process of overcoming objections that works 100% of the time, but as you get better at the process, you'll begin to get better and better results. I often say that when you're working with clients and they're giving you objections, if they don't give you an objection, there's something to be concerned about, because the clients who just say, oh yeah, come on over, I can't wait for you to get here. When you get there, you're going to find that there's something wrong with that particular client, and maybe they're looking for term coverage for a mortgage protection with $100,000 in coverage, and they just had their left foot cut off last week because of diabetes. So I welcome objections. I find that if I can overcome objections and I get in the door, those are the clients that I'm more likely to sell. So typically speaking, though, you're not going to overcome 100% of the objections. I don't care if you're the best person on the planet at phone scripts. You're not going to overcome 100% of the objections. What we're looking to do is increase the probability that you will. So if you get the same objection over and over and over, maybe you get to the point where 40 or 50 or 60% of the time you can overcome the objection. But again, it's a three-step process, AIM, acknowledge. This is nothing more than a simple phrase that lets the client know that you heard their objection, such as, that will make my job so easy. So if they say, hey, I already got that taken care of, I'm going to say, that's going to make my job so easy. Or I might say, okay, great, let me ask you a couple quick questions so I can take you off our list. Ignore. This is the easiest part. Just ignore the objection and then move on. This is a statement that you use to transition back into the script, and this is dependent on the actual objection. Examples of these AIM processes for the most common objections are on the previous slide at the end of the phone script. But keep in mind, it could be a lot of different things there, but there really is only about 4 or 5 objections that you hear over and over and over. And if you hear one that you just have no idea what to say, call your coach. Conclusion, there is no substitution for practicing, dialing, and getting coaching along the way. No successful person in this business ever got there because they loved to dial. In fact, every successful person I know in this business tells me that they wish they didn't have to dial, myself included. But the common denominator of success is this, and this came right out of a book here, and I'll go over that here in a second, but the secret of success of every man and woman who has ever been successful lies in the fact that he or she formed the habit of doing the things that failures don't like to do. So if failures don't like to dial, make it a habit. I got this out of the book, The Common Denominator of Success by Albert Ian Gray, and it is true today. It is as true today as when he first wrote this down in 1940. And so I recommend getting that book, read it. Sometimes when I don't feel like dialing, that book is available in an ebook, and you can actually pull it up and read that as well. So with that being said, guys, I hope this helps. Don't ever think you're going to get to a point where dialing is going to be your favorite thing to do, but understand that all of the money you make in this business starts with the telephone. So the more comfortable you get with it, the more you practice, the better your success rate will be, and the more money you're going to make and the more families you're going to be able to help. So have a great day, and we'll talk to you again soon.